Ever been in one of those client meetings and the project just goes sideways?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like where the scope starts to shift
Yeah.
and you think, wait a minute, this wasn't what we talked about.
Right.
Well, today we are diving into your notes on how to handle those moments
Okay.
when client requests kind of go off the rails from the initial project agreement.
Right.
We're going to try to give you some phrases and strategies to help you address this stuff like scope creep and limitations of your own expertise, and even how to ask for more money.
Yeah.
All while keeping that positive vibe with your client.
Exactly.
Your notes start by talking about that feeling in the meeting,
Okay.
where you realize the client is asking for stuff that's just out of scope. Like internally, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, we need more info. And maybe we should have looped in other people sooner.
Right. Right.
So how do you even begin to get things back on track? Or at least address the new direction in a good way?
Yeah. I think acknowledgement is a good place to start. And your notes mention that.
Okay.
Just starting with, thanks for sharing these thoughts.
Yeah.
We appreciate the commentary.
That's good.
Kind of sets a positive tone.
Right.
Then you can point out that there's a shift
Yeah, okay.
without being like, hey, you're changing everything.
Right, right.
So maybe you say, what you're describing fits into this broader vision, but exploring it fully would mean a lot more work
Yeah.
and a more conceptual stage.
Okay.
So you're acknowledging the value of their idea,
Right.
but you're also being real about what it would take.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned kind of referencing the initial agreement.
Exactly.
Without being confrontational.
Right. Something like, based on our initial discussions and the information we had, we provided the framework we did.
Right.
So you're gently reminding them of what you agreed on
Okay.
before.
Now, there's also a note here about suggesting an agile approach.
Oh, yeah. Agile is great for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because things are evolving, So you could mention that this type of work is best kept agile, meaning working in shorter cycles, being more flexible.
Now, what about those times when the client asks for something you're not really an expert in?
Ooh, that's tricky.
Your notes mention a scenario where you have experience and support,
Okay.
but feel unqualified to advise on a very specific topic.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, how do you handle that?
Honesty is key, I think.
Okay.
You got to be upfront about what you can and can't do,
Yeah.
but still offer help where you can.
Right.
So you might say, just one caution here. While we can assist with the support side of this, advising on this specific topic needs input from an SME,
SME.
subject matter expert.
Yeah.
We can give our observations in the final report,
Okay.
but for direct advice, we need their expertise.
That's a really good way to set expectations.
Yeah, and avoid overpromising, which
Wow.
is never good.
And speaking of things that aren't always fun to talk about.
Well, you mean money.
Yeah, when the scope expands.
It's a budget conversation.
Yes.
Nobody's favorite.
But it's so important.
So important.
What do your notes say about this?
Be direct.
Okay.
Don't beat around the bush. You could say something like, for this additional work, we need to discuss the resources required.
Okay.
And that would include budget consideration.
I like that.
Yeah, it's clear and transparent.
Right, you're not hiding anything.
No.
So just to recap,
Okay.
start positive, acknowledge their input.
Right.
If the scope is shifting, reference the initial agreement.
Yes.
Maybe suggest a more flexible, agile approach.
I love agile.
And be super clear about what you're an expert in
Huh.
and what you're not.
Exactly.
Offer help within your boundaries.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to talk money.
Money.
When it's necessary.
It's always necessary.
You know, this whole conversation has got me thinking, what if we got ahead of this stuff?
Are you gonna...
Like right at the start of a project.
Okay.
What if we set expectations about scope changes?
Proactive scope management.
And we're really clear about what we are experts in.
That's interesting.
Could that prevent some of these tough conversations later on?
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, food for thought.
I like it.
All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.